Happy New Year, ladies and gentlemen. Richard Yepes here, Mr. Next Mortgage.
Happy New Year!
Welcome to the Lending Labyrinth podcast. This is our first podcast, episode number 1.
Numero uno.
Numero uno. Yeah, no, yeah.
I don't think you said that right.
Nope. But anyways,
Hispanic guy.
Welcome to the Lending podcast. Lending podcast.
That's why you have a Spanish-speaking assistant.
That's why I do. That's when it comes to mortgage lending. And so thank you so much for being here. We're excited. You know, this is something that we set out to do last year and try to get up and going. And here we are.
I know.
So
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Yes, this is all a gift from my wife. And my first guest, for no one out there that knows, my wife, Lynn Yepes, here is guest number 1 for today.
Hello.
And so, hey, Lynn, just tell everybody a little bit about yourself and yeah, go from there.
Well, I am your wife. I am part of this dynamic duo. We've been doing this for 20 plus years. And, I think one of the best things, the thing that I am most passionate about as far as what we do is, like your tagline says, turning triers into buyers. I love putting puzzle pieces together. I love being able to help people turning those no's into yeses and everything else. So, I mean, those are some really cool aspects about what we do and being able to help different people in our line of work.
So I think the first question everybody is going to ask me is, why the Lending Labyrinth? Now, I asked you about this title before I picked it.
I love this title.
I mean, it's a mouthful. Lending Labyrinth. You couldn't even say it.
Okay, well, when
3
you
times.
say it's a mouthful, but like typically Lending Labyrinth.
Yes.
I mean, labyrinth.
Yeah. And when you think about labyrinth, you think about some kind of maze. Or I think about the movie The Labyrinth.
Okay, well, you
with
think
David
about
Bowie.
You think about the movie. No, that was a really good movie.
It was.
Yeah, that was a really good movie. What I think about when you say labyrinth is, do you remember those box games that you would literally have to turn? It's a wooden thing and it has a little maze and a marble needs to go through it, but it couldn't go in a hole. My grandma had one of those. And it was the coolest game.
You know what?
So it's amazing.
It's funny you say that.
It's funny you
say that. Oh, well, our background here. So this is,
people in the pool.
We're in next Mortgage Studios right now. And so this will only get better. But, we're using a TV for a background and that can only get so good.
Airbnb just got a
promotion from Airbnb here on the Lending Labyrinth. No, so it's funny you say that because I was getting her coffee this morning. We actually go to this little coffee shop that does excellent coffee, and they have a lot of board games. And they had that game.
Did they really?
They did. It was funny because I used to play with that game all the time. So it's funny that they had that. I guess for little kids can play with while you're sipping your mochaccino.
You know what? We should really get that game for the girls. It'll keep them busy for hours.
It might, or they may just lose the marble and then they'll never play with it again.
Probably. Leave it up to the memes.
So we thought I thought this podcast was very important is because in our line of work, I've been doing this for 20 years. You dragged me into this business because you thought I would be good at it. And I've been happy every day since.
Well, you know what they say. If you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. Right?
I guess. But
so not
I've been
true.
working pretty hard. But I think the biggest thing is that we get asked all the time mortgage questions. I think it's the number one iota.
What's the number one mortgage question that you get asked?
How do I buy a house?
How do I buy a house?
Or how can I get approved?
How can I get approved?
Yeah.
That's
and it's like, I think one of those things that you say is that a mortgage is like a thumbprint. Everybody has a mortgage. It's different from everybody else's. And just like everybody has a thumbprint, it's different from everybody else's. But
it's so true. I mean, everybody has to fit into within the same type of guidelines, but how they get there is so different.
Yeah, it truly is. And so I think what I thought when we create this podcast is the information that we can put out there. And so this podcast is not going to just be me and Lynn spewing off things. Although you may be into that.
I think we're quite fun.
You may want to hear me and Lynn banter back and forth.
Do you like the sound of my voice?
About mortgages and our kids and everything in between. But we're actually going to be inviting a lot of different people in the real estate industry to our podcast to kind of let you know that educational piece, that maze. We want to get past the maze of making buying a home as hard as people think it is. Because when they actually get into it and they realize how simple it is, when you're working with good individuals that are going to walk you through the process, get you through the maze, and get you to the end goal, which is closing on your home, that's what it's all about.
That's truly what it's all about. I mean, that's why we do what we do.
And that's for the reason this podcast is called the Lending Labyrinth, because we're going to navigate you. We're going to get you to the closing table or help you get to the closing table.
So I had a client call me. Absolutely understand. Okay. I had a client call me earlier today that was referred by one of our agents, and she's like, "Lynn, I'm going to be very honest with you. I'm not trying to buy a house right now." I'm like, "Okay." She goes, "I have 6 months to a year." All right, great. She goes, "I don't have the credit score." All right. Well, let's put you in it's not, I didn't say let's get you through the maze, but I said let's do a roadmap for you so that we can get a plan in place. Because ultimately that's what we try to do, right? We set up a plan for everybody to get them through that maze or that roadmap, and that way they can get to their end journey.
And it's the funniest thing. If I asked you how to buy a car,
that's your department.
I mean, any individual is probably about 1 or 2 or 3. I think the statistics say you'll buy 3 cars in your lifetime.
I think we've done more than that.
Maybe no, we've done more than that. But again, that's your department. If I went up and asked someone, "Hey, how do you go buy a car?" They might be able to give us that information as far as, okay, well then you got to go talk to the finance guy. And you got to figure out what your payment's going to be, and then you got to haggle over the car. Those kind of things are maybe easier said than done. Even though I feel buying a car is the biggest headache in the world, I think buying a house is maybe a little more easier than buying a car. But when it comes to buying a house, people don't have that understanding of what we.
And you're not on that
there
screen.
You go. You're back on.
Okay.
There you go. Lost Lynn for a little bit. But yeah, I think that buying a house, it's just that number one question of, well, do I qualify? Do I meet the guidelines? What are the guidelines? What are we going to do to get into a home? I want a home.
And those guidelines changed. Do you remember when we first started? They had fast and easies back then, or
so we're kind of aging ourselves. But
hey,
I started. I don't know about you, or you can tell everybody. I started in 2004, and so that would mean I've been doing this for 20 years this year.
Okay.
Kind of, sort of. Kind of, sort of. 20 years. I mean, that's a good time.
I've been doing this since 2001. I brought you in like 3 years after I started. Yeah, that's about right. Mm-hmm. That math is right.
Yeah. So
math works out.
I always tell my customers, I've done all the bad things already. I've already messed up and done all the wrong loan officer stuff way back in my career. So hopefully by this time, I'm a little proficient. I can get, yeah. Well.
No, you are. But one of the things that makes us, that differentiates ourselves, right, is, back then we were doing it without a team. And I have said since the very beginning, we are only as good as the support system that we have behind us. And so we have an amazing team to support us. We've got a Spanish speaker. She's our production assistant, and she's doing phenomenal. We have, strong underwriters and relationships with those underwriters. And that is key. I mean, we can get into all things loans and everything, but honestly, everything that we do is relational based, not just with our clients and our referring partners, but also on the back end. So
correct. And it does take a team to do what we do. It's not a one-man show at all. I rely on my team. I rely on Lynn. I rely on a lot of people, not only in the company, but outside the company, as far as our referral partners, the agents we work with, the insurance agents, the inspectors. There's so many facets of buying a home. It's not as simple as people think it is, where it's just, oh, I go to a bank, I get it pre-approved for a home loan, and it's kind of downhill. There's so many people that touch a mortgage file. It would make your head spin.
I know, but that's why, again, we set up that roadmap when we guide them through that labyrinth.
Correct.
See how it all goes back to that.
Right.
That's a good title.
A good title.
And here we are.
Yes. We're
first
lending and labyrinthing to everybody. So we'll bring you into the maze, but we'll definitely bring you out of the maze as well. So yes. So hopefully you can tune into our show. I think we're going to be trying to podcasting at least twice a month.
Twice a month.
Twice a month.
That's what we have on our calendar.
And that way we can get some guests in here. And if you guys want to hear somebody, if you want to hear someone from a certain area of real estate,
a certain person, a certain topic,
send in that info. If you want to be on the show because you think you have some good information. And the biggest thing is that I am the one, very much so. Like, a lot of people think that this business is so cutthroat. I am the first guy to tell you that I'm not out there to get all the business.
Oh, there's so much business to go around.
There's some mortgage companies that can do things different than Next Mortgage.
Yeah. And we've partnered with them.
And I am 100% like, working with those who want to work and want to help the customers is what it's all about. Even if it's not me doing the loan, there's been many a time I've helped the customer look over paperwork, explain what they're looking at and what the fees are. And they don't even go with me at the end, because there's a lot of things that factor into what we can't do.
But there's been files that we've gotten that it made sense for the buyer to stay where they were at because it's so close to the closing date.
Mm-hmm.
And we talk and we sit down with the lender and say, hey, did you look at this, look at this, look at this? We've done a few of those. I mean, and ultimately our I want to say our motto and the thing that we have stood behind whenever it comes to our referral partners and everything else, is, we just want to make sure that they're taken care of. Do the right thing first and the rest will follow. And that's ultimately what it's about.
Right. And oddly enough, people notice that, especially your referral partners, because they know you didn't do that deal, but they know you helped to get that deal done. And at the end of the day, regardless if they're your buyer or not, they got into a home.
Right.
And so that speaks volumes when it comes to that service level.
Anybody that really hears this and wants to come on, no matter where you're from, let's have you come aboard.
And let's talk mortgage. Let's talk home buying. Let's tell people why that even with 2023, there's a lot of mortgage loan officers and real estate agents who closed the most business in 2023 because they stayed in front of people. They let people know that even though rates were high, and they were high, not as high of what I've seen before, but they were high. But it was buying a home in America is still one of the best investments you could make.
Congratulations, by the way.
Did I buy a house?
No, but you did. You did do extremely well. You got President's Club.
I did.
But how do you think we did that?
I think we did that just providing that level of confidence. I think
we provided that level of confidence, but I think like one of the things that set us apart is that it is more of a relationship based business. Correct. I mean, in 2020 files were rolling in. You didn't have to set up those relationships. Anybody who asked for them could pretty much get them.
Right.
Then the market started shifting,
mm-hmm.
and then COVID happened. And it just became what worked for you then isn't going to work for you now. And a lot of it was got to get back to the basics, which I have to tell you, I loved that about 2023. I'm very much a relationship based person.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to, bond and live life with our partners and our friends, and because we consider them all friends and family.
Well, it's certainly been a roller coaster. Because even during COVID, because we are relational, because we love to hug and shake hands and laugh together. And then we went to a state where we couldn't even be in the same room.
Yeah.
And that's even with our customers. So everything. And this
you try to go to closings and you couldn't even go to them then.
Yeah, this just isn't a mortgage. I think it was everybody kind of dealt with this. Real estate is a together business. You're showing homes together. You're, going over documentation together. It is a together business. And we went through a period where they're like, look, you can't even, if you're going to close, you can't even be there anymore. And I like going to my closings. And so from having that,
I love seeing the pictures of your closings with the welcome home sign.
well, I think that's the best part is the closing. Not just because it's done, but because that's when you see the result. It's like eating the cake. And I like cake. So you're seeing you're seeing the happy, you're seeing the smiles, you're seeing everything come into place. It's you're getting the hugs, you're there for the pictures.
Getting to the end of that maze,
to the end of the maze, out of the maze,
out of the labyrinth,
getting
the
into your home.
has made it,
and it's you're done. You have your home, and then on to the next customer that lead into the labyrinth to get them to the other side.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I think this is going to be a great podcast. I think there's going to be a lot of questions that people are going to have, and we're going to answer those questions and try to be available for customers. I'm gonna turn this TV off behind me.
My Aquaphor is now getting its promotional piece,
unless they're paying the show. Unless we're getting some money from these guys, and goodness gracious. Anywho, yeah. So I hope you enjoy the content we have. It's going to be different. It's going to be new, but we're going to get through but if what I love to hear all the time is that you always have to start. If you never start it, then how are you going to know what you're going to end up? And this is the starting point of what we want to do in 2024. Everybody has a starting point. This is ours with the Lending Labyrinth.
Oh, so they get to grow with us.
Yes, huh? Yes. Because I'm gonna have like a sound machine. Look, I already have like little buttons on this thing.
Do not turn me into a chipmunk.
And it's gonna be good. Well, I think it's gonna be good. Anywho, but it's going to get proficient as we get along. And I think the more guests we bring in here, like I said, it's going to be good to kind of hear, not just from me, but from outside of our little circle. And that way you can ask those questions and we can answer those questions for you and let you know how easy it is to buy a house. I think that's the main goal. Why is it important to own a home? How easy it is. And I think it's the number one want, I mean, even if you live in an apartment, and you have a dog, that dog doesn't want to live in that apartment. He wants a yard. Doggy. He wants a yard to run around in a garage. Like, you got to have all these little things. And yes, apartment living is
home
good.
Ownership is like the number one American dream, right? I mean,
it's what I was taught growing up. Or maybe that was my dad telling me I just need to move out. But I had to live somewhere.
Oh, but you ended up, I think maybe he just wanted you off the payroll.
Maybe, yeah. But I'm still on the payroll. Nah. Thanks, Dad. But yeah, I think this is going to be a great podcast. So stay tuned, guys. The Lending Labyrinth podcast, episode 1. And thank you so much for joining in, listening in. I hope you're excited because we're certainly excited. And we look forward to answering everything and anything when it comes to mortgage. Thank you so much for being with us today. And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.